What's going on, y'all? I'm Czar, and in this video, I want to show you the British Channel A from Softube. So Softube announced two new plugins today, the Overstayer and this British Class A channel strip. More interested in this one. I may check out the Overstayer at some point, but at the entry price that it is right now, I know I'm not going to pay that. So once the price drops, I might check that out. Demoing this British Class A, and we'll see if we keep it. I've spent a lot of money with Softube this year, so we'll see about this one. So this British Class A is a British style channel strip. You will be very familiar if you look at the EQ points, as well as the compressor, as well as this VU meter, or the metering here that I associate with this certain style of, I'm just going to say it, Neve. This is a Neve type channel strip. 3-band EQ that's a little different from the 1073. I noticed that we have a 10 and 16K on the high end, where 1073 just does a 12K boost. But we've got a 3-band EQ, we've got a gate, we have a compressor limiter, and we have your normal filters. You have your phase and input and output metering as well. Unique to this is you've got a drive and character on the far right side with your output fader there. All right, so let's quickly go over these controls and then get into what this sounds like. So this left side, we've got your input and output meters, input gain knob, you've got your phase. This high pass, low pass is going to send the filters to the side chain. Here you can reorder, and this is kind of odd the way they did this: first, middle, last, with your EQ position. External side chain, you have options for that there. Next section, you have your gate, you have your filters, which is high and low pass, and you've got your compressor limiter here. Metering, you can switch between limiter, both, or the compressor. Attack, release. Again, these are very familiar if you are familiar with these Neve style plugins, compressor and EQs. EQ section, 3 bands, not very versatile. We have a low shelf, high shelf, and a bell filter in the middle. And most interestingly, like I said, we've got drive and character here on the far right. So we're going to listen to this on some guitars, some drums, and some vocals. Right now I have some guitars up, and see, going to make sure everything's kind of set back to default here. We'll bring the compressor all the way down. All right, it's already on, so I'm going to play this guitar. Let's actually loop this. All right, and let's get to turning some knobs here. All right, so just brighten that up a little bit in the mid-range here. Let's get to this drive. So this drive is going to add distortion. By default, it's here in the middle. Once you hit a certain point of distortion, this red light will illuminate. And the character here, the more clockwise you turn it, it's going to get brighter. And the other way, of course, is going to get darker. So let's listen to what this drive can do for this guitar. All right, so I really like what that drive is able to achieve here. You can obviously push it too far, but just adding a little bit of drive and then changing this character to brighter or darker can go a long way for shaping your tone, especially since this EQ really isn't that versatile. I would love to see a bell filter on the low shelf, not necessarily the high one, but the filters too, typical standard 1073 filters here. But one thing I'll say about this EQ, this 110, 220, I always want to get in between these. So, sometimes these Neve style EQs aren't the first thing I reach for if I know that I need to do some surgical shaping there, but this really isn't the channel strip for that, as you can see. But let's move on to another example. Let's take a listen to some drums. So we got the British Class A here on some drums, and the first thing we're going to check out is the gate. So I've got the gate on the kick, snare, and toms, and we'll just bring it in and out so you can hear it with and without the gate. And we'll start with the gate out. All right, so Gate does a great job at reducing some of this bleed from these drum tracks here. Let's take a look at the drum bus now, where I've done some EQ here. I boosted a couple dB on the low shelf at 110, gave it a little bit at 12K, and did some compression here. So let's take a listen to that. All right, so now I'm going to back off a little bit on the high shelf I got. Actually, I'm back all the way off of it. And now we're going to use the drive and use the character to add some top end to it and some brightness. Open it up on the top end some. So I really like what the driving character is doing there. It does quickly make me wish that I could bypass the drive, or if there's a way to set it back to, let's see, it defaults to 5. I would just like to turn that on and off quickly to hear the boost that I've done compared to where it is by default. Kind of same way with the character as well. All right, so that was the British Class A on some drums. Lastly, let's take a look at some vocals. All right, so the British Class A on vocals. I've got a female vocal here with the saxophone. I'm using the Class A on the saxophone as well, and I've got it processed through it, but we're just going to be looking at the vocal here. So I've got on the vocal, I've got some compression going. I got a little bit of limiter going, and I've got some EQ going. Cut 2 dB at 220 on the shelf, then I boosted a couple dB at 10K, and then of course we'll play with this driving character to see what it does to this vocal. We'll start with it bypass, and then I will bring the British Class A in.
Daylight, I wake up feeling like you won't play right. I usually know, but now it just don't feel right. It
All right, now let's play with the drive.
Daylight. I wake up feeling like you won't play right. I usually know, but now it just don't feel right. It made me put away my pride. So long, you made a show to wait for so long. You make it hard for a girl like that to go on. I'm wishing I could make you mine, yeah.
So the tone that you can get from this British Class A is very impressive, and I'm really liking it, especially when I'm getting to turn this drive and character knobs. When you turn up the drive, it's going to increase the gain, and when you turn up the character, it's going to increase the gain even more. So what I said about being able to bypass to go back to the original, that would be nice, but what would even be nicer is if when you turned up the drive, you could set it to pull down on the output fader, because you're pretty much, ever since I've been using it so far, I've had to pull down that output fader as I've turned up the drive. So it would be nice to turn up the drive and down the output fader at the same time. So final thoughts on the British Class A. I'm on the fence right now if I'm going to pick this up. I just haven't decided yet. I'm going to spend some more time with it, but it really depends on where I see this fitting in my workflow. And I really see myself using this a lot on drums, guitars, bass. It works very well on vocals, but if you, I think that you need to have tracks recorded really well already, and then this channel strip will just enhance that. But if you have tracks that need a lot of surgical work to it, this isn't going to be the channel strip to go to. And while I do wish we had some more flexibility in the EQ section, when I really think about it, all of the other channel strips I have really have that flexibility. So if this did have all of that flexibility, it would just go along with everything else I have. So this does bring something different to the table than what I have as far as channel strips. So I do like that aspect, but again, not something that you would really reach for if you have a ton of work to do, especially in the EQ on tracks. But excellent tone. I really love the drive and the character. You can just shape things really with that without even touching the EQ. Or, you can boost some on the EQ and then take it even further with the drive and character. And it reminds me a little of what I'm going to have to compare this to the Waves CLA Mix Hub, because it essentially has a drive too with the mic in line knobs on that channel strip. You can do the same thing in a sense with the drive here. However, this has the character that lets you lean towards the brighter or darker side. So Softube has really done something unique here with that aspect, adding on to the tone that this channel strip is already known for in delivering that Neve sound. So if you want to learn more about this plugin, I will have a link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content from me, then you know what to do. All right, any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time. I want to invite you to check out my podcast, the Faders Up Podcast, where we discuss pro audio and beyond. We discuss everything from recording to gear to the music business. So if you're an audio engineer, songwriter, recording artist, music producer, this podcast is for you. We recently started season 2, and we're going to have a lot of listener questions on this season, as well as some really cool guests that's lined up and giveaways as well. So if you've already subscribed and followed the podcast, thank you. If you haven't, it's available on all platforms, and I encourage you to check it out. Also, rate it and review it and let us know what you think.